overwhelming. And it doesn't just extend into mental health and therapy. It could be asking somebody out on a date. It could be going for a job interview. It could be starting your own business. There are so many things that you got to step on that edge and take that leap of faith. So the biggest lesson for me was Miles Morales taking this leap of faith. That just had an impact on me. It was a recent thing, and it just reminded me that you're not alone, and everybody gets scared, including a little kid that has radioactive spider powers that make him one of the greatest and best next Spider-Men. So yeah, leap of faith, everyone. Don't be afraid of it. Do what you gotta do. Speak to your friends, speak to a health professional, and it's just one step you gotta take. Once you take that leap off the building, swinging just becomes second nature right there. And that has been my story. I hope you guys enjoyed that little element right there. And yeah, Aaron, what about you? What has the Spider-Verse done for you?
A lot, actually. Since we were bringing this up, age-wise and stuff, I'm 35. I know I look great, but
You do. What's the secret?
Lotion. I've been following like the Spider universe for a lot of years. The 90s were rough. But I identify with Spider-Man for a lot of reasons that a lot of people do. He was one of those superheroes. He was always covered up, so pretty much anybody could kind of identify with him. But I identified a lot with Peter Parker, especially in my adult years, because Peter Parker as an adult was a mess. I'm going to try not to curse, but he was broke all the time. He was in between jobs a lot. Luckily I haven't been through that, but the broke part totally got into. You know, he had a girlfriend, he had a job, he had an aunt he had to take care of, he had everything going on. Then he also had to be Spider-Man. So like a lot of times, like Spider-Man, he's known for like being quippy and smart and like having like quick wit and all that stuff. A lot of that, what a lot of people don't know, that's because he's scared all the time. That's because he's like basically, he doesn't know that if his web cartridges might run out, he falls thousands of feet in New York City. Or like he can't stop the building sometimes. He can't save somebody. Spider-Man has lost a lot of people that he's scared about just because he was trying to do the right thing. He had a girlfriend named Gwen Stacy who everyone says that the Green Goblin killed. No, Spider-Man actually is responsible for that. His web snapped her neck because Green Goblin dropped her. But Spider-Man was the one he lives with that grief. It's kind of dark, yes, but he lives with that. But Spider-Man, he has a lot going on, but at the same time, he can still put a smile on his face and go to work. I also identify with Miles Morales a lot because besides him being just like the newer hot version of Spider-Man right now, he's also a young kid. He got his spider powers at 13. He didn't become Spider-Man until he was 16, so he had already had his powers for years. He also has a thing where he's super smart, but he just wants to be a regular kid with the rest of his friends. Growing up, I was always put in the smart classes. I was always put in like the gifted programs and all that stuff. However, I have a PhD now, but I still want to be a regular kid sometimes, It's like, because the smarter you let people know that you are, the more work they're going to give you. I'm going to tell you guys that right now. The more smart you let people know you are, they're going to go, oh, okay, you can handle this. Cool. Here's calculus at 14. I don't want that life. I never did. Yes, I was good at it. I gravitated towards it great, but you get smart and you learn how to hide your talents. That's why Miles Morales took 3 years to become Spider-Man in the comics. They sped it up in the movie because it's a movie, but he also had an uncle that he looked up to whose name was Aaron. Awesome. I'm an Uncle Aaron too, and I'm great. But it's one of those things that he had all these people knowing his potential, but he couldn't see it in himself. My mental issues come from a place of encouragement. I'm a middle child in a large family. I didn't get as much attention as I wanted to as a child and stuff. I didn't get too much, what's the word I'm looking for? Affirmation from my parents or anything. And this is why I learned how to do so much stuff. My fiance is still learning about all the stuff that I know how to do. And most of it is because I just wanted that positive affirmation from my parents. I can play music instruments, I can sing, I can dance, I'm a dope photographer, I can do anything you put in front of me, I will learn how to do really quick. And I'll toss it aside because it's like, okay, well, my parents don't approve of it, you know. I'm 35 and I still get that, but it's a struggle every time. But at the same time, people who care about you, they don't have to be your family. They don't have to be, you know, related to you by blood or anything like that. Everyone in this room has a support system. Everybody in this room has somebody rooting for them. Everybody in here has a hype man. If you don't, hit me up. I will be your hype person. I'm dead serious.
But really good at hyping people up.
You know it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to like see what other people see in you, because it can be a truly positive thing that can make your life better. I was a regular kid who just wanted to be a regular kid, but I had so much potential, and it took me a very long time before I started seeing that in myself.
Thank you.
Spider-Man helped.
Appreciate that, and thank you for sharing that. One thing I really liked that you said at the beginning, if anybody's played the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game, at the very beginning, the first conflict he's given is he has a letter in the mail saying his rent is due today or he'll be evicted.
Yeah.
But then he has the opportunity to go bust Kingpin, which is a villain he's been trying to bust since he was a kid. And he decided to go bust Kingpin, came back home, and he was evicted. So.
And you cannot go back into your home in that game ever again. Like after that, if you go to that mission and you come back to your house, you cannot get back in.
So it's
you're homeless as Spider-Man in that game.
Spider-Man is relatable, very relatable. Thank you once again for sharing that, Aaron. We appreciate it. Kurt, what about you? Spider-Verse, how's it help you?
So, 30, 35, you guys are like 18. As the old man on the panel, let me tell you something. Before there was these movies and these cartoons, there was this thing called comic books.
You got
It's
it.
the only place you could get superhero stuff. If you're lucky, maybe you can watch like the awful Shazam TV show, the pretty bad Incredible Hulk TV show, the really bad Spider-Man TV show, the American one, the Japanese one is a little better.
Japanese, yeah, robot.
Yeah, but when I was a young kid and Spider-Man was Peter Parker, and there were like no other Spider-Man except for maybe like the clone, but that was later. That was a little later, even though technically, but anyways, so Spider-Man, when he first started, he wanted to be part of the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four was like the cool characters until, of course, you know, they had that movie and then Marvel killed them and ruined my life. But, so growing up, really, I was always like a science nerd, and I became a scientist. A lot of it was because of Marvel comics. Growing up, I read a lot of Fantastic Four, a lot of Spider-Man, and the cool character, well, you know, I guess they were cool in the sense that they were liked by everybody, but the cool characters were the scientists. The Avengers, which was originally essentially all scientists and Thor. The Fantastic Four was two scientists and then their family, and Spider-Man was a scientist. So growing up, you know, being a scientist was kind of the goal because of Marvel, because of Spider-Man. And then later, as I was doing my mental health stuff, who here has actually seen the 60s Spider-Man cartoon? Okay, everybody knows the memes.
Nice.
But in the cartoon, I don't know if you remember, but like Green Goblin is a little bit different. He kind of gets hit in the head and becomes the Green Goblin. So in the comics, you know, he's kind of the smart science guy who loves his family usually, but is also kind of evil sometimes. And it's like a mental health issue thing. And in the cartoon, they did this thing where basically we get bonked on the head or something and become the Green Goblin, and I realize he's the Green Goblin. So to me, you know, looking back, that's kind of how I feel when I'm in my worst state of like depression, suicidal thoughts. It's like you're still a person who has, you know, the connections to everything else. You're still the scientist. You're still the family man. But you know, it's like something bonks you on the head. And when you're in your really dark moments, it's like maybe I'm a little bit like the Green Goblin in a sense. You know, I'm not the best person I can be, but at the same time, I'm not the worst person I can be. So I got a little good, a little bad in me from the Spider-Man universe.
Thank you for sharing that, Kurt. Kurt, I'm going to ask you a science-related question. Do spiders have spider sense?
No. No, actually, I can sort of explain this. So the spider sense idea, where like you try to swat like a fly or spider and they move faster, is because they're so small. Their neurons can move more rapidly, so they can actually react faster than you can.
Oh, that makes sense. That's why it's hard to hit them, right?
Yeah, it takes a couple of seconds if you imagine from like if you're stomping on something from your brain, like there's a split, you know, second before you can move your foot. But if you're smaller, it doesn't take so long.
There we go. Proof that Kurt is in fact a scientist.
It's size relative, because like if a big boulder was falling on you, you could get out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same idea. You know, if you're a little tiny spider, you see things. You know, if you're well, depending on what kind of spider, 6, 8 eyes, or whatever, and you can jump out of the way.
There we go. Knowledge is power, everyone.
Size matters.
In this scenario, yes, life doesn't matter.
First, I guess, but.
All right, Chris, thank you for that little tidbit. Ariana, what about you? How's the Spider-Verse helped you?
So just a little background about me. I moved down to Southern California in 2015. No, 2016, 3 years ago. Anyway, and part of it was I was joking I wanted to get away from the rain. I lived in Oregon. But unfortunately, another part of it was I was kind of escaping a relationship that I was in. It was a year and a half, and he had been both psychologically and sexually abusive. So it was pretty intense, and it was kind of a world that I wasn't used to growing up. So, originally I was, upper middle class, Corvallis, Oregon, hoity-toity family, and it kind of dragged me into this dark world that I had never been a part of before, and he was a drug dealer, and it was one of those mistakes where you learn a lot from it. And so moving down here, I was kind of a mess. Because I had been diagnosed with bipolar and ADHD, I obviously had to go see a psychiatrist, and so basically what they explained to me is that I was suffering from some PTSD. I was angry and I was anxious and I couldn't sleep, and it was not an ideal situation. So anyway, I always talk to my sister about nerdy stuff, kind of a sidebar, and she was my, we always switch recommendations. And so she had just recently gone to Rose City Comic Con for the first time with my cousin, something we hadn't quite discovered before, and she called me up and she's like, this is the coolest thing ever. It's like Halloween and it's amazing, and I discovered this new thing that Brett, our cousin, told me about, and she goes, it's the Spider-Verse. And she's like, it's all these spiders from all these different worlds, and they got together, and they, there's this girl Spider-Gwen, and she's Gwen Stacy, and all of this stuff, and she's like, there's this really cool new Spider-Woman, and her name is Silk. And she showed me a picture. I was like, wow, she looks badass. So I picked it up, and I read it, and the Spider-Verse was so cool, and I kind of felt this attachment to Silk, and so I went and I read her story. And I don't know if everyone is familiar, but she was trapped in a bunker for 10 years. Her spider senses were, attracting these horrible hunters, and so she ended up going in there, and Peter Parker let her out, and she was also suffering from probably some form of PTSD from what I can tell. Obviously I'm not a professional, but she just had all of this anger and stress and trying to kind of navigate this new world that she wasn't used to anymore, and I really related to that, because coming from where I was and trying to adjust to a new life, I went from that to trying to get into a professional job and couldn't drop an F-bomb every 3 words. I couldn't be aggressive and angry all the time, especially because it was customer service, so you have to be very customer-centric. And just something about that character really resonated with me. She was my first cosplay ever. So when me and my sister went to WonderCon, she was kind of what got me into that. She pulled me into this world, and I just really appreciated reading about a character who felt kind of similar to how I felt. And I could look at that and I'm like, I can relate to that. I can relate to that world. And she actually had a therapist. Fun fact, Silk did have a therapist.
This is true.
Talked about her aggression a lot. So yeah, I think that was kind of my biggest intro. I mean, everyone's, most people are familiar with Spider-Man, but that whole thing was when I first dived a little bit deeper into the Spider-Verse. And yeah, that's my story.
Thank you for sharing that, Ariana. So, if you got bitten by a radioactive spider right now and got spider powers, what's the first thing you do? Hot question.
Yeah, that is a hot question. I would just travel, move. I always liked the idea of flying and just kind of being free, that kind of flying about the city sort of thing. So if someone's in trouble, you gotta save them. But I probably would just go around everywhere, all the time.
Web sling across the world,
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
There we go. Thank you. All right, Audrey. Last but most certainly not least, what has the Spider-Verse done for you?
Well, I really like spiders because they're cute and they have a lot of legs and legs to days. But I'm not super familiar with the Spider-Verse except for like the movies I've seen. I've delved more into like DC comics personally. I have like a stack of Marvel comics, but none of them are Spider-Man, so all the research that I've done is from YouTube and from the movies, so but that's part of the Spider-Verse because Spider-Verse is like anything in like any spider world, so don't at me.
Please don't at her.
She's absolutely right.
But there's not like a specific character or anything. I mean, Peter Parker's broke and like I dig that, but there's not like a certain character that I relate to or anything because none of them really have my personality as far as I'm aware. Like they'll have aspects of it. I haven't really gone through any of the things they've gone through, but one thing that I really enjoy and that like helps me feel empowered is they have a lot of strong women in it. Mary Jane's really confident. Gwen Stacy's nice, depending on which like Gwen Stacy of the Spider-Verse it is. Black Cat, she overcomes sexual trauma by becoming this like bona fide BA, and I also really like her personality because it's really fun to beat people up, like consensually, but and yeah, I think I already said Mary Jane's really confident, and they have Silk, who overcame so much, and then the other spider chick, what's her name? The pregnant one.
Jessica Drew.
Thank you. Jessica Drew, like, fighting crime in her spandex suit with a 9-month pregnancy belly. Like, you go, girl. Some people wear heels when they're pregnant, and she fought crime while she was pregnant. Like, you go, girl. And then, I mean, Black Widow's technically a spider because her name is Black Widow, and I like her a lot. But she's technically not a spider as well. We're gonna do it for the sake of arguing. But I don't really have anything that makes me personally super relate to any of them, except when I cosplay them, it gives me like a sense of confidence because I have very little confidence normally, but when I don the costume, like it gives me like this sense of like belonging and confidence, and I mean the makeup helps too. But I like to get in the character because I like acting, and so I'll like go in the role. So like MJ just like, hey tiger, and I also love tigers, so I love that she says that. But yeah, because they all have that confidence. Black Cat, when I'm Black Cat, I beat people up. You know.
Yes.
You know.
There's photos of her strangling me. It was consensual.
It was consensual. It was also on the ground, and I like put my foot on him. It was awesome.
This is also
It
true.
was so much fun. Which in that sense, it like relieves some like creativity that's pent up in a way. Being able to cosplay, one of the reasons I love cosplaying any character, and just. I love that they actually included women who are strong and don't let their past experiences run their world, and they're not playing, quote, playing the victim, they're not victim blaming, they're not doing anything. Some people might beat some people up, but that's okay. It's a comic book. But, yeah.
There you go. Thank you for sharing that, Audrey.
You're welcome.
Audrey, if you had to pick one of the Spider Women, which one would be your favorite?
A cat.
Cat?
Yeah, I like cats.
Yeah. Do you also like the fact that she's very aggressive?
I do like that, and I like the fact that Ariana is her right now, so.
Well, there we go. So
Yeah.
that's it. That's everybody's stories right there in relation to the Spider-Verse. As you can see, even with Audrey, she didn't have a huge direct connection to it, but there were elements of the Spider-Verse that really helped her out and empowered her in various aspects. And all of us have a story with it. All of us have something that we've really learned and gained from it. And I really feel like Spider-Verse is one of the best, obviously it's part of the Marvel Universe, it's one of the best comic universes just because there's so much diversity in there. There's so many different elements behind it. Like, she mentioned Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one that's very underrated, very forgotten, and she fought crime while she was pregnant, which definitely, that doesn't sound like that's easy at all. So there's spider people for everybody out there, and you know, if you've seen Into the Spider-Verse, the best quote that's in there is anybody can wear the mask. So anybody out in this audience can be a spider person. Anybody out here in this audience can gain that empowerment from the various Spider-Verse characters. So that's Spider-Verse for you guys right there. We want to open the floor now. We got about 10-15 minutes left. If anybody's got any questions that you want to direct towards specific panelists, looks like Raul's got one right there. What is your question, Raul, and who would you like to ask that to?
Actually, I'm going to kind of open this up for everybody.
Speak into the microphone, Raul.
That's not
No, speak into the microphone.
Yeah, that's not
Oh, that's what you meant, yes.
There we go.
My special.
So,
Hold on, do you want to, here, come take this one, because that one sounds like Rice Krispies.
can I hide behind this a little bit? Yeah, you can be the next. All right, so I'm going to hide behind this a little bit. All right, so in the Spider-Verse movie, I think one of the biggest themes about the movie that's repeated over and over again is resilience, because they say how no matter how many hits I take, I always get back up. I think for me personally, what keeps me resilient is seeing people I care about immensely, see them succeed, see them reach their goals, and see them, make an impact with what they do and who they talk to and all that. And I wanted to ask you guys, what keeps you all resilient?
You. He's the biggest sweetheart and such a sincere person. And friendships, obviously. But yeah, we appreciate you so much as a friend, and I won't say more because you'll cry and she'll cry. So
I will probably cry on the inside.
She's not lying.
Actually, Audrey, is that your answer right there?
Yes.
All right, Ariana?
As cliche as it sounds, yes, friends and family, especially because over the years I've developed some major trust issues, so the people that I feel like I can trust are what keep me going, they're the ones that have always been there, and they're the ones that I can rely on, so I love you guys.
Yeah, for me, definitely family, but another big thing for me as, a biologist is nature. Whenever stuff's getting really bad, it always helps to go for a
Did you do a
walk.
Poison Ivy cosplay? Have your beard red or? Right, beautiful.
Patrick Isley, that would be my version.
I like that.
But yeah, nature's a big thing for me.
Keeps me resilient, honestly, is like the people that I care about. I don't like letting people down. I'm not the most reliable person all the time, but I'm a delayed reliable person. I love being on time, but when someone's like, hey, can you do this for me? Yes. Can I do it for you now? Probably not. It's gonna take a couple days, but I'm gonna get it done for you. But what keeps me resilient, honestly, is just like my own natural drive to always be better than I was yesterday. I need to improve. A lot of my heroes and my fandoms and stuff are always those people who are just trying to get better and better and better. But at the same time, there's some of the laziest people ever, like One Punch Man. Awesome.
Yes.
Lazy as hell, but tries to be better all the time. But which is me, except I got hair. But but yeah, it's just that drive to just do better and do good things for people.
Nice. I think with me, I know everybody's kind of uses the answer, but one big thing for me are my friends. They've been there through a lot of the things that I've gone through. Once again, the leap of faith, that was Peter B. Parker, mentoring Miles Morales, telling him, and I've had so many mentors, so many friends in my life that constantly talk to me and tell me, hey, you can do this thing, we believe in you, and you're gonna get through it all. And honestly, the other big thing that keeps me resilient is being creative. Whenever I've gone through a rough patch in my life, just staying creative constantly helps me stay grounded. If we compare it to Spider-Man, it's him fighting crime, him doing his thing, as rough as things get, him going out there, saving people, constantly doing something to distract his mind helps him. And with me, I don't fight crime. I probably would get myself beat up and get hurt, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. But photography is one of my biggest things. Peter Parker was a photographer, and every time I go out there, I kind of get pulled into the moment. I gain a sense of appreciation for what's going on around me, and my brain just kind of turns off in that negative aspect, and I'm just focused in the moment. So creativity, hands down, is the biggest thing that helps keep me resilient with my friends. So that was a good question, Raul. Thank you for that one. Does anybody else have a question? You don't have to come up on the podium if you don't want to. Sorry, Taz.
I have a loud voice, so. Hi, I'm Taz. So along that line, great question. I would love to hear from each of y'all what your most effective, like specific self-care thing you do to like help cope is, because that I think that might be useful to talk about.
Audrey, you want to set it up?
Yeah, I love that question. Recently, she got me a crystal, and I like spiritual stuff. What kind of crystal? I don't remember, but it's yellow. It's quartz. Thank you. But like, I'll like hold that to my chest, and I do something might be weird, it might not be weird, but I also really love my animals. And I hold it to my dog's head to charge up the good energy, and if he's having a bad day, to give him my good energy. But I also like hold my animals and like breathe in deeply, like do like breathing and stuff, and not necessarily smell them.
You can smell them, that's okay.
Okay, I smell them. They all have like, not like, I don't like go with their butt like they do or anything, but like, you know how like parents when they have babies, they're just like, oh my god, like smell my child, and you're just like, that's weird, and then I smell my dog, and I'm like,
smells so good.
well,
It smells so good.
okay, they smell like Cheerios.
Baby smells a thing.
I just
No, it is a
It's
thing,
a
and it's the top of their head, it's not the Cheerios, and it's so that people don't want to kill them when they're crying all the time.
Very
It's biological.
See, it is.
and then if it's just too bad of a day to do that, then I delve into video games until I am able to comprehend my thoughts.
Thank you, Audrey. Ariana? Go.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is just making sure that I get some amount of downtime. I'm what I'd like to call a social introvert, so I like people, but I also need me time. And that's very important for me because if I don't recharge my battery, I hate life. So video games just kind of take in a sec. I like reading as well, and I have 2 cats that I love to cuddle. Sometimes they don't love to cuddle, but I love to cuddle. So, yeah, that's kind of my thing.
And Scratchy's helping.
Yeah, and I love when people scratch my back. Or my head. So Audrey does that sometimes, she's happy to oblige.
Get consent first, or just walk up to
Oh,
somebody. I kind of feel like it's my moral responsibility.
One sec, as long as you're not scratching anything weird, if you want to scratch my head, go for it. Ultimate consent.
There we go.
When she's not wearing a wig. When there's a wig,
Yeah,
don't
we're not
do
the
it.
wig.
Thank you. Kurt?
Usually like drink heavily, punch a wall. Oh wait, no.
No, I said Kurt, not Kyle. I said Kurt, not Kyle.
You like that white monkey cat thing?
No, as you can see, my actual answer is humor. As this guy knows, I'm a very gallows humor kind of guy. I post a lot of dank memes, and I like to watch bad movies and make fun of the absurdity of reality. And kind of laughing at the bad really helps me.
Thank you, Kurt. Aaron?
Piggybacking on that a little bit, I like, besides like my normal everyday self-care and stuff, sometimes I like just sitting around in complete silence sometimes. Also music, I really relax when I listen to like 1970s Genesis. My fiance will tell you that just leave him alone if she hears carpet crawlers coming on out of the bathroom and stuff. Great song, look it up. This man knows what I'm talking about. But no, lately though, my ultimate form says 2. I recently got into building Gundam models. My homegirl, she put me on that. Yeah, she put me on that. Appreciate it. I also watch bad TV shows on TLC, 90 Day Fiancé. Yes, and it makes me feel so much better about myself. So, if you haven't, start off with season 1 and build up. It's great.
Thank you for that recommendation. I might have to try it myself.
Do it.
With me,
It's on Hulu. Get in, I'm telling you.
oh man, that was a good one. All right, with me, humor is definitely one of them. Creativity, I mentioned before, that's definitely huge for me, but I'm a bit of one of those woohoo, spiritual, hippie kind of people. I have a crystal collection. I do
Every single day, positive
affirmations. I'm all about that.
Every morning.
I take my meds and I meditate. That's the combo. But no, I love meditation. I read tarot cards. I know some people think that's wild, but it's definitely something that helps ground me. really big, I mentioned meditation, but I can't stress that enough. For 10 minutes, just focusing on my breath, at least for those 10 minutes, everything shuts out. Like, maybe I'm gonna start feeling crazy again afterwards, but at least I can remind myself for 10 minutes, I was silent, I was grounded. It really, really helped right there. Music's another big one. I don't do it as often as I should, but I love, love, love to play guitar. That really, really helps me just forget about my problems. If I'm feeling sad, I'll sing a sad song. If I'm feeling happy, I'll sing a happy song. If I'm feeling in love, I'll sing a love song. You know, it kind of helps me process those emotions right there. And then last but not least, video games. I love video games. It's something that I grew up with. I was extremely introverted growing up, not by choice, but I didn't have a lot of friends, and video games kind of gave me an outlet to sort of just escape. And it's helped me a lot with my creative ventures as well, because I write, I do things like that, and it helps out big, big time. So yeah, those are my coping.
Also, on that, with for anyone in the crowd, and I say this on almost every panel I've been on, if you need a go-to song to listen to just to make you feel better, just to give you a boost, Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham. It is impossible to be unhappy when you listen to that song. Play that, like, no matter who you are, no matter how you feel about George Michael or anything. Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham will make you feel amazing.
I love that. That's a good song. Thank you for the question, guys. Really appreciate it. That was good. All right, more questions? Anybody? You're right there.
What do you suggest to a child who has a parent who suffers from mental illness so she doesn't feel responsible for her mom's life? I'm not her mom, I'm her grandma, so.
Get out of here.
What?
Wait, time out. We gotta address something else. How are you her grandma? Like, how does that work? Like,
Yeah, so my daughter suffers from mental illness and just had an episode with hospitalization, and she feels responsible, so what do you
Can I?
suggest?
Aaron, you want to take that one?
I feel like I can respond to this because my dad has issues as well, and I've gone through this. We actually had this conversation last night, actually. It's not your fault that things are going on. It's actually no fault of anyone's at all, and you also don't have to take it on yourself to feel responsible for that. I understand like how it can be like, you know, it's your parent. You have that natural protectiveness over your parents and stuff, and you want them to be happy. Sometimes when they're having those episodes and anything like that, sometimes the best thing that you can do is just step back and just realize that, one, you are loved, you are special. People in your life appreciate you. People in your life want you to be around. But you can also love someone without taking on all of their problems. I know that's something kind of harsh for me to say to you right now, but the more you mature, the more you'll understand it. Like, you know, everybody has something going on with themselves. However, no matter how much you care about them, it's not directed towards you. You don't have to feel, what am I trying to say? It's
not your fault.
Yeah,
Something happens to someone else.
If something happens to somebody else, it's not your fault. It's nothing that you have to deal with. However, there are coping mechanisms that you can go through to make you like not feel as if this is your problem to take on. You know, everything that we've said, like put on some George Michael. You know, but. And you got a cool grandma too, and I have two cool grandmas, so I know a cool grandma when I see one. So it's gonna be fine. Trust me. It does get better, but it's so much more I want to tell you without going way off into doing something I'm not supposed to do, like legally wise, because I can't give you like real stuff that I want to say, but I'm trying to like clean it up so I'm like well within the law. Nothing creepy. It's just like I can't give medical information out to someone that's not my patient. But if anybody else want to jump in, please do.
I was just gonna say from a biological standpoint, I like to, I'm a science guy, so I like to think of everything in science terms. What is happening internally in someone else? It's tough with mental illness because a lot of times it comes out as, aggression or people say things to you. But think of it as if somebody had, diabetes or cancer or something. It's not your fault and responsibility that somebody you love has a broken leg, unless you broke their leg. If they have a broken leg and they're upset about the broken leg, it's not your fault their leg's broken. So if they have a mental illness, and you know you aren't purposely triggering it, it's not your fault, and the best thing to do, yeah, is just love them and find other people in your family, friends and stuff that you can maybe turn to in some of those times that are there to say, yeah, it's not your fault, we all love you.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, I definitely understand what it's like to get inside your own head and just feel like things are your fault and have like that self-loathing, and it really helps to just put those feelings out there verbally. So if you have a safe person that you can talk to and just kind of spit it out, be like, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's going on, and kind of let them be that support if you feel comfortable. Just because personally that's what really helps me, and just let them be there for you.
Yeah, also don't be afraid to walk away. I don't know exactly what they're going through, but also if it's too much for you, you can ask for help. You don't have to take it all on yourself, and mental health's not a burden, so if you start feeling burdened by it, definitely ask for help. Also, you're really young, so you don't want to add a lot of stress on you. A lot of us have been there. If we can save you from it, we'll try, baby, we'll try. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. I don't know if you guys have tried to see a therapist together, but I was in a lot of therapy when I was younger. It was for myself, personally. But my sister and I had problems, and so my parents had us go in and talk them together. Or if my parents and I had a fight, even if it was just a little one, like I want a PB&J. No, you're getting ham and cheese. Just kidding, vegetarian. But anyways, but there's nothing wrong with going to see a therapist if you feel like you need help, even if it's not help for yourself, if it's help dealing with this way to talk about something to your parent or otherwise. But yeah, also finding people you can confide into, definitely important, whether it's a parent or a grandma or a friend or a stuffed animal or your journal. Or pets
are great, they don't tell anybody.
And then they get really happy that you're just talking to them. But
just don't get a parent maybe if you're telling too much.
Thank you for all of that input. I can't really add much else. They kind of hit it all right there. But the biggest thing to stress is just it's not your fault. You're doing the best that you can, and they pretty much put out all those good resources right there. Thank you for the question. That was a really, really good one right there. I hope the answers helped you out big time right there. Anyone else? Questions? We still got some time. You can ask anything mental health related. Right there. How's it going?
List of any Spider-Man video game that you have played.
Spider-Man video games that we have played. I played Spider-Man PS4. I really liked it. To loop back onto the whole struggle relation thing, Peter Parker in that game is awesome. I think the three of us up here can relate because we're all in our 30s.
There's one Spider-Man game in particular that will induce rage in your system because it is an extremely difficult game. For those of you guys old enough, I know you remember this from me. You don't know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a game called Maximum Carnage.
Oh yeah.
It was one of the hardest games in the world. It came in this big red cartridge and stuff, and it followed this storyline from the 90s called Maximum Carnage. They're actually doing a sequel storyline in the comics right now.
And all the music in that game was basically ripped off Black Sabbath music.
It was one riff that played through the whole game that just made you just upset the whole repeated for 8 hours of gameplay. It was insane. This is back before you could save a game and come back to it. So if you came back to it another day, you had to start from the beginning and go all the way back. I've never beaten that game. If I did not read the comic, I would not know how to do it.
No, I never beat it either. I can say I've never beaten that one.
I don't think anybody has. I think they stopped it at a certain level and just stopped the game. They're gonna start over tomorrow anyway. So.
When I was a kid, there was this thing called Atari.
Yep.
And that actually had a Spider-Man game. And Nintendo had a Spider-Man game, but the one that I will always remember was the one for Sega. There was a level that when I was a kid, it took me months to figure this out, but you have to beat Sandman by kicking the fire hydrant to, and that, whenever I get really frustrated, I can sit down and think about those video games and be like, okay, maybe you have to kick the fire hydrant just to go out and punch something. It's like you have to think outside the box with those games, but Yeah, that was another one that was a nightmare. Genesis one.
Ariana?
Well, I'm a League of Legends addict, so I haven't had a lot of Spider-Man games in my life, but I did play the PS4 one shortly, and I played this really weird game on my iPhone that was like Marvel Academy or something. I don't know if that counts. I don't know if that counts, but I totally had Spider-Man in his full suit. So.
I went to a barcade once, and there was a Spider-Man game there. And I've also played Widowmaker on Overwatch like 2 times.
Which is a Spider-Man when you think about it.
Was that the Dave and Buster's after party after Nerd Expo day?
No, but that is super legit.
That was a good plug right there.
But no, there's up in Portland. I don't know what it's called. I don't know why I'm looking at you because I didn't go with you. But
You know what you're talking about.
woohoo!
Spider-Man playable.
Yeah, it had Black Cat as a playable character, Spider-Man as a playable character. That might have been it. But yeah, it was pretty fun.
I think we've all had some pretty good experiences with video games and Spider-Man video games, so that's a good question. Thank you for that one. Another one back there?
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys have any experiences with attachment trauma. I recently am getting over a breakup, and I discovered that I have this preoccupied attachment, and of course there's secure attachment and avoidant attachment, and it stems from my childhood and my parents just not being there for me, and so my ex-girlfriend became like the symbol of that and activated those feelings. So I'm just wondering how you guys cope with that, or if you have any suggestions on how to reparent yourself.
Take your time. Okay.
Yeah, Ariana, go for it.
Well, yeah, I experienced something similar. It was trauma bonding. I think it happens where they're nice to you, then they're mean to you, then they're nice to you, then you're, and you get kind of stuck on that. But I think the best thing for me was just separating and finding something that helps you not think about it. So if there's anything that you do and you kind of feel that relief, I would say, focus on that and go to that when you're having that hard time, and just trying to do your best to separate, distract yourself, hang out with friends, they're a great support system, and just, realize, okay, this this streamer just recently, Kitty Plays, made a comment, and she's like, sometimes breakups are a blessing because you don't want to be with someone who would break up with you. It's a chance at a new beginning, and you can take that and just be like, maybe this is for the best, and maybe there's somebody out there that's going to, care about me more. And I know that's so cliche and hard to say, but at least that's what helped me. So.
I also like, and perfect what you said. Also, I just want to add on to that. Like, anytime after a breakup, we need to start treating certain breakups like life events, because they can be. Sometimes you have to change your entire life around after the ending of a relationship. The thing is though, like with that attachment, like because that person, typically speaking, like I don't know your situation, but typically speaking, that's the person that you confide in. So if you lose the person that you confide in, and you need to confide in somebody, your first thought is, well, let me send this 3 a.m. text to my ex or something. Don't do that. The thing is, like, so I've been through several bad breakups. Thankfully, I'm done with that. My fiance's right there. But thank you. But I've been through several of them. But the thing that got me through most of them is like, okay, it's like going to school. Once you're finished with first grade, it's time for second grade. And the things that you learn from first grade, you can still use, but you can't go back to first grade again. The more you think about like things and stuff, and like how you may want to go back to that past part, do something else. Like if you have a hobby, if you have like a passion, if you have something that you want to do, anytime that you start to feel your mind going to that, do that. For me, it's working out. If I start thinking about something bad that happened to me in the past, I'm going to the gym. I used to be 120 pounds. I am a tank right now. But so I think a lot. But you have to go find your workout. Start with some George Michael, waking up before you go. I'm gonna keep bringing it back to that. I'm sorry.
You learned anything from this
You learned anything from that? I love some George Michael. Put on Purple Rain by Prince and just think through it. Put on some Phil Collins and just chill out. You'll be fine. Trust me. You need that support system. Basically, you lost the support system. Now you got to build another one. You know, you can still find those people that you can confide in and stuff. It doesn't have to be the same person all the time. Because, again, that teacher from first grade, they're not going to be able to teach you anything once you make it to high school. They're a first grade teacher. You graduated. Think about it like that. Like a breakup doesn't have to be as bad as it is. It's a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing because now it's time for you to get something better. You get closer and closer to what you want. You know, you go to a bad restaurant, cool. Now I know where to go to get some better food.
Sometimes I think too, with any situation like where you have like a new life, big life change, and you have to sort things out, is try to find something, like a hobby or something that's positive to do, but maybe it's not a lot of human interaction in the sense like, do a beach cleanup, join an organization to plant trees, do something where at the end of the day you have accomplished something, but maybe it's not necessarily, if the trauma is related to people, it's not necessarily you have to be out in the public. Help some pets, help some animals, volunteer at the animal shelter. Just do something where you can say, hey, I did something positive today. And sometimes that's that little spark that helps you move on.
Those are all really good answers. With me, I've been through horrible breakup, abusive relationship, and one of the things that helped me, having a new support system, my friends were there for me. It was really big. Going to therapy was definitely something that helped me work through a lot of it, process it right there. And honestly, it's just like they said, not even just finding out, personal development, self-growth, really investing in yourself is probably one of the best things that you can do. It's a hard step to take, but the more you start to work on yourself, grow as a person, and develop yourself, the more you realize you kind of have that ability within you, have that power within you to grow and be the best you that you can be. And eventually, when you do feel ready, you can find somebody else out there. You can eventually ease into there, but don't rush. Don't try and feel like you have to feel better by a certain time, get over it by a certain time. Just find healthy methods. Everybody's got something that they mentioned that's really good, and you'll get through it. So thank you for the question.
Yeah, real quick, I want to say too, on the other side of it, this kind of pertains to that and to a lot of things. If you're confiding into people, friends and things like that, which is sometimes a great coping mechanism, sometimes obviously you need more help. Don't do interventions. This is what I learned on Wednesday with Tess for our I Know That Feel show. But if you're friends with someone and they're just like, you keep talking about this, you're bringing me down, or like you need to get over it, you don't want to talk to that person anymore. Like stop talking to them about that. Stop talking to them like in general. You want to be surrounding yourself, your hype team, you want them to be the people who's like, I understand, you're feeling down, you're talking about this a lot, so let's do something about it. You don't want people to be like, oh my god, they're talking about it again, like you're such a downer. Like why can't you just like get over it? It's like, you want the people to help you. So if anybody is just like, oh my god, like you need to stop, drop them. Find someone who's going to help you, because if you think about it, if you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm really sad, my dad died last year, they're not gonna be like, oh my god, you need to get over it. He died like already, duh. But they treat mental health that way sometimes. And like we're saying, we need to treat mental health like it's an event, or like a breakup like it's fed, things like that. So find the people who are going to help you and stick with you through the ups and downs, not the people that put you down, because they're just digging the hole further for you.
All right, we got a little bit under 5 minutes left. Any quick questions we can try and help you guys with?
Just make a quick comment.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Just appreciate you guys' candor. I have it.
Yeah. No.
No.
Take your time. Go for it.
And it gets emotional.
You're with good people.
So, probably the most meaningful con panel I've ever been to. So I appreciate that. I was in the last panel. I'm a treatment professional. Recently celebrated 19 years of sobriety. I'm the director of a drug and alcohol treatment program. I just, for everybody else, for the panel, for you guys is the courage that it takes to get up in front of people, and I've seen it in here, you know. So I just really appreciate it.
We appreciate you, man. Thank you so
We
much for
appreciate
that.
you. This is one of the things that we kind of have we have to have these kinds of conversations because this is called Nerd Expo, right? So everybody in this room at some point has been called a nerd in their life, and you know what kind of stigma that can bring to you. You know, we're the people that aren't supposed to be cool or anything like that. I kind of find it weird that this Nerd Expo, like right across on the other side, is a place spelled differently. It's called Bully Con, and I'm like, what the fuck?
It's about dogs.
I know. I gotta get a picture of that because that's just kind of hilarious to me that it's still kind of different. But at the same time, I'm like, wait, what? No. But
It's about dogs. Don't worry.
yeah. It's a bulldog convention.
Bulldog convention. Dogs are also good for mental health. Built-in right there.
But
That's why there were bulldogs in the parking lot.
yeah.
You saw that on
I was just horrified for a second.
Hold on. Everybody focus. Hold on. Breathe. We'll talk about dogs later. Hold on. But at the same time, it's like these are things that like us. I'm comfortable enough saying that we're all nerds in this room. But we've all gone through a period in our life where somebody told us that something that we liked wasn't cool. Something that we liked made us different. I've had that in spades growing up. And sometimes when you grow up, the thing that you liked when you were being made fun of is now the cool thing, you know? And it can make you feel a certain way. It can, because you can see some of the people who talk crap about you digging the stuff that you like. You know, I'm a huge fan of Prince. And that wasn't cool growing up in the 90s in the south side of Chicago and stuff. But in 2016, when Prince died, guess who got a lot of Facebook messages asking for playlists? And guess who sent out a lot of middle fingers? But anyway. Yeah, now Prince is in the My Hero Academia universe. Expect it. But yeah, it's one of those things where like, this is something, and that can be traumatic too, finding out that something you were made fun of is now the cool thing. And now everybody is suspected to be like, oh, you should just forget that. It worked out for you. Now I'm like, no, dude, this is what I've been going through for a while. And with all that other stuff, like they talk about mental health in a lot of comics. There's a TV show coming out very soon on the Disney Plus about Moon Knight. Moon Knight has a lot of mental issues. He has multiple personalities. This man is going through some things. These men are going through some things because he has multiple personalities. But these conversations need to be had. I'm happy to be invited to have these conversations. I will be here as long as they want me to, and unless they tell me to stop bringing up George Michael. But
no, we welcome that.
But yeah, these are and I'm glad that everybody in here decided to take time out of your day to come in here and to have this conversation with us. I really do appreciate that. You have no idea how much.
Thank you, Aaron. So we really appreciate each and every one of you. Mental health is very important, and once again, as much as we have fun talking, this panel is for each and every one of you. In case you need more mental health tips, advice, that sort of thing, I host a show with Audrey over there called I Know That Feel. It's on the Nerdbot Facebook page every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We're always covering different topics. We have a Facebook page as well, I Know That Feel Show. If you have something you want to hear us talk about on that as well, please check it out. My own personal Instagram, you can find me at tofu.waifu. Aaron, where can the audience find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Your Favorite Skinny Man, spelled all the way through real words. Add me on Facebook, Aaron Ram Powell. I add just about anybody as long as you don't look like you're trying to tag me with 99 people in a sunglass ad. So we're good.
Where can they find you?
Nerdbot stuff, Nerdbot, I write for Nerdbot, I'm in videos sometimes, I'm on stream sometimes, Kurt Bros on Facebook, the Kurt Bros in places, and WLFK Films on Instagram.
Ariana, where can they find you?
With my cosplay Instagram with my sister, it's the Winnie Sisters, Winnie spelled like the adjective. If anyone likes video game streaming, I'm also on Ariana Katana.
Audrey?
And she also has Facebook. I also have a Facebook. But I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Cause I'm Audrey, COSIMAUDREY.
Thank you. We'll also be having a panel at Los Angeles Comic Con. We'll have more details about that. So if you're attending and you want to see more stuff like this, please come on and attend that. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your Nerd Expo. And don't forget, there's an awesome after party later on tonight, 7:30, Dave & Buster's Arcadia. Have a great con, y'all.